Thank you all for sticking with us. We hope to make this very exciting and engaging for you. My name is Anderson David. I'm one of the brand partnership leads at TeamSnap. You probably heard me asking random questions throughout the day. So in addition to just being a plant for asking questions, I actually have another job to do while I'm up here. But TeamSnap, if you're not familiar, is one of the largest youth and amateur sports management and sponsorship platforms across the United States. We've got about 25 million logged in authenticated users, and literally what we do is we make it easier for parents, coaches, admins, all to play the game. So with that, we've been able to leverage our first-party data to really create some custom and unique experiences, both digitally through our app, but then also on site at the field. Think jersey sponsorships, field banners, all those really cool things, because there's not just, professional sports out there. And we love and appreciate professional sports tremendously, but they don't have the coverage or reach across all of the United States. But you better believe that in every town and every city across the United States, it's going to be Friday Night Lights somewhere, right? So awesome. But enough about me. Today, I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with two absolute rock stars. First, we have Hertz's hometown hero, Stefanie, Let's Go Dillmore.
Hey, everyone.
And Rogelio, Magaña Shoemaker, the world is your cart, Rogelio, as he'll be known. And you'll find out a little bit more about that. I did. I took a lot of Spanish. But before I even begin, let's just give them a round of applause for being Brand Innovators 40 under 40. An amazing and well-earned distinction, and I kind of remember when I was like under 40, but it was a long time ago. So the topic of this is going to be a little bit more about brand love, but I think what's really cool about this and the future of brand love, but you all have very distinct perspectives to share, both personally, but then also from the organizations that you're with. So you have Hertz, which is a legacy brand, right? Reinventing itself along the way and staying present and keeping in touch with their consumers. And then you also had Instacart, where you were most recently at, which was looking to build a brand. And for those of you who don't know, Rogelio was actually credited with turning Instacart into a lifestyle brand. So that was a pretty powerful task. And, I think we can learn a lot from you here. So I'm just really excited to go ahead and get started. But before we do that, before we can embrace the future, let's learn a little bit about your history. So, Stefanie, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in sunny Syracuse, New York, and decided at the ripe age of 18 that I was not meant for the snowy north. And so I made my way down south to Florida Gulf Coast University, which no one had heard of until they made it to the Sweet 16 a while back. So now it's a little bit more on the map, but, have been in Southwest Florida ever since. I didn't have a name for what I did until Wayne came to the organization. So shout out Wayne, because I graduated and took a real hard left, and I started at South Beach Diet right out of school and just immediately fell in love with marketing, especially brand marketing, and just have not left since. So I really started my career at South Beach in the CPG world. They were looking to relaunch their retail products, and so I really learned a lot there about reinvigorating a brand, which was really exciting. In about 2015, they were sold to Nutrisystem and moved the business up to Ohio. And as I mentioned, I was not a fan of the northern area, so I said, I'll stay here. Very fortuitous timing in that Hertz had just moved down from New Jersey, and only about 30%.
You could have ended up in New Jersey.
I could have, but I didn't. Only about 30% of their team came down, so they were really looking to rebuild the marketing department at that time. So, they had every position you could think of posted, and you would come in, and it was just, open interviews. It was what job do you want to do? Do you have a pulse? We'll take you. So I joined. It'll be 8 years on March 7th. Shout out Hertz for my longest relationship. But, I've been here 8 years. I've been through a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but I think, the last few years post-pandemic have been some of the best yet. So I've really learned a lot. Excited about the impact we've made. Hertz Let's Go is my baby, as you heard and saw, but it's just been an amazing ride, and I could not love what I do anymore. I love brand marketing and just love shaping the future with the marketing team here.
That's so amazing. I feel like this is, I don't know if dating myself, Not sure if you guys are familiar with This Is Your Life, but this would be the moment where I bring out like Stefanie's second grade like math teacher or something like that.
They would say, "How is she here? She could not add."
Rogelio, what is your story, sir?
So originally from Mexico City, born and raised in Mexico City. Was there for for 25 years, 26 years. Started my career at P&G, then moved to Nestle. But before moving to Nestle at P&G, I thought, I like people, I like communicating, I like getting to know and feel and understand people. And so my career started in HR. And then I realized, wait, no, I actually want to do marketing, and I actually want to do like feel and touch and understand people, but consumers. And so I moved to Nestle, and Nestle did this amazing program there. They rotated me in like different parts of the company for once a month for like a year and a half. I started driving a 3-ton truck. For those of you that know DSD, direct sales distribution, I literally did that. Distributing ice cream in the worst Mexican neighborhoods. Got mugged 5 times, twice in a day. So really interesting story, but really good upbringing to understand how to be a marketer and not do campaigns or products that won't sell on the streets, right? And then I moved to the U.S. We were talking about this, but my first stint in the U.S. was in Boston. I did my MBA there, and then moved to New York at a Series B company, super scrappy, literally moving from their garage into the new office, and my first day there was like, well, oops, we forgot you were coming. Do you want to order a table for you and a computer so you can work? I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. And so I've had that experience, which is really incredible too. And then I was fortunate enough to come over to Miami to work at Burger King under the leadership of Fernando, so we could work on those really cool global campaigns that we did. Had the opportunity to lead BK US advertising, so did a little bit of global, a little bit of US advertising. And then Instacart came calling, and believe it or not, Instacart was at that point, like 8-year young company that did not have a marketing team. And they might have had a performance marketing team, but there were more like finance folks trying to figure out what the best investment was. But they didn't have any marketer, and so we were the founding members of that marketing team. I joined when we were 30 people, and we grew the marketing team to 130, 140. So it was a phenomenal 2.5-year wild ride, and really exciting.
And you attribute all of that to getting mugged in Mexico twice.
Exactly, basically.
Awesome. Well, let's get a little serious here as we dig into the topic at hand. Just based on your perspectives, I'd love to kind of get your definitions of brand love, right? So in terms of it, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to the brand? And what should it mean to a consumer?
Sure. I think I've thought a lot about this recently, coming out of some consumer research we did on the new Let's Go spots, as Wayne mentioned. And one of the attributes that rose to the top when we were testing the creative was Hertz is a brand for people like me. And I think in this day and age, people are not shopping based on price or based on packaging. Like, they are looking at brands as they would look at relationships in their life, whether it be friends, partners, etc. Like, do they share the same values I do? Do I trust them? Do I respect them? Do we have common ground? Does their style match my own? And so I think like that is how consumers are looking at brands nowadays, because from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, everything you do has a brand name attached to it. And things ain't cheap anymore, right? So you want to invest your money in a brand that matches your values and matches the things that you look for in relationships otherwise in your life. And so I think as marketers, it's super important to like not get high on our own supply and just keep that in mind of like everything we're doing is to reach a distinct audience with distinct needs, right? And oftentimes you're talking to many different audiences with many different distinct needs, right? So what's that common ground, and who is the highest, most profitable prospect within that audience set for you, and how will they grow your brand, on long-term basis?
Really good points. What I would add though is I think there's, Burger King, we used to have fun with our brand love. There were a lot of people that would actually use to like tattoo our logo into whatever, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of brands, or a lot of people that tattoo brands and logos in this house, and that's kind of the epitome of brand love, right? You want to, you want people to like actually wear the brand and use it and do it and everything, and there's, but that's one extreme, and I think that's kind of the extreme that we as marketers aim for, potentially, maybe not tattoo or a brand, but or even just at Instacart, we used to like joke about making the name of the brand a verb, right? So like Googling it, Ubering it, Instacarting it, or carting it. But I think to me, the lowest common denominator for brand love is just building trust with the consumer. If there isn't any trust, then I think you're going to have a very hard time building brand love and getting people to tattoo your brand into their body. So I think there's a basic level of, do I trust this brand to work? Do I trust this brand's promise to do what it says it's going to do? Do I trust this brand to have my back if something fails, right? If a car fails, can I call customer service and can I actually get help? And so I think there are different. There's a whole gamut and shades of brand love. I think the basic one is, do I have trust? Can we project trust to consumers?
I have to know, does anyone here have a brand tattooed on them? I'm looking at you because I don't know what. You're the wild card.
Does Batman or Peter Pan count?
I think Batman counts. Yeah. All right. See? All right. Case in point.
Are you going to demand folks have Hertz tattoos?
Temporary, maybe.
Maybe.
It's initiation.
The challenge is when you rebrand and change the logo.
Ooh, that's true. Dollar's hot right now, so maybe that's the way to go. It is fascinating that you talk about brand love that way. At TeamSnap, we love a good sports analogy, and we really kind of equate it to fandom. When you think about being a fan of something, it is something that's emphatic. It is something that is enduring. It's earned, right? And there's ups and downs. I'm a Met fan, and I live in New York City, and it makes no sense to be a Met fan because we haven't won since 1986, but every single spring, I'm pulling out that jersey. I'm dusting off my custom dunks and my hat, and I'm excited. And I think we got to believe. And then, like, literally in July, I'm like, all right, this season's over. but I'm still a fan. I think you both bring a lot to the game in terms of personal principles. Rogelio, within an article, you had mentioned one of your personal principles as it relates to brand love and driving brand preference. Would love if you can share that with us.
Yeah, I mean, and we were just talking about this. You had a different saying, which I appreciated, which is gazing at the navel. I think as marketers, we for the most part, tend to live in a bubble, right? We talk to marketers, we join marketing conferences, we call agencies. We all enjoy and have a passion for what we do. But I think we often forget when we're doing go-to-market plans, when we're launching a campaign, when we're reviewing an idea, we often forget who our consumer is. And so part of my acid test with my teams when I talk to them and when we're developing an idea or a go-to-market plan is, will my mom get it, right? And my mom is the most amazing person in the world. She is not a marketer. She is your most average consumer. And so oftentimes whenever I try to over-explain an idea, when I talk to her and on Sundays and I call her and be like, hey mom, I'm doing this really cool thing. If I end up explaining it over and over and over and over again and trying to figure out tell her why it's cool, then it's not a thing. And so I think, you can use whatever analogy you want depending on the consumer you have, but is it worthwhile and is it easy to explain? Is it easy to understand? And will your consumer understand it? Is, I think, a good basic acid test for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Another one I would say is leading with an insight. So whether that's a pain point, a trend, or just an inherent benefit that customers are leaning into, ground everything in a consumer insight because that's putting the customer first, right? The easy part is to launch a flashy campaign. The harder part is to really look at the bookends, which is the insight and the performance that guides next steps and kind of the viability of the work you just did. So exactly to what you just said, just customer first always in a way that's super relatable and understandable versus marketers speaking to other marketers.
Yeah, you'd mentioned, I think your exact quote in Ad Age was, would my mom care? And we spoke about this, and I'm like, well, you're married, so you might want to add an addendum to that. Would my mom and wife care? But
my wife would be happy, but yeah.
Awesome. Thinking through the future of brand love, you all are incredibly courageous in terms of taking that next step in order to push that brand forward. Where does that courage come from?
I think I like to push boundaries in a healthy, respectful way, like always kind of questioning the status quo and just never just sitting back and resting and saying like, okay, this is done. I think I mentioned the last 3 years have been very exciting here at Hertz. One, because travel in a post-pandemic world was so uncertain to all of us, so we were always navigating those new and oftentimes treacherous waters, but also the way that consumers are, hearing about brands, consuming media, like you always have to kind of stay on your toes, right? And I think it's easy to say, well, this is what we've always done, so we're going to get what we've always got. But no, it's like, hey, we should be on TikTok, right? We should, be testing with influencers. We should have Yvonne and Tom and some edgy commercials because our competitors are talking about very functional things in theirs. And I think grounding it in data and building trust in the organization really goes a long way. Like I kind of preach to my team and those close to me, like I don't love leading with I, because leading with I just kind of immediately turns people off. You always want to lead with we, because before you bring an idea to a leader, you really should be vetting it with your team, your colleagues. Like I don't bring anything forward before talking to Dan and Arthur. I think they know more about what I do than myself, because I'm like, hey, I've been thinking about this. What do you guys think? And you really let people poke holes in the work that you're bringing forward to ensure that you have strong buy-in from the get-go. So when you do get the green light, like it isn't a surprise to everyone. People are not caught off guard or not on board. So again, I think it's really about just staying ahead of the curve and bringing people along for the ride.
I agree. And I think the other thing I would add is, as a marketer, I think part of leading a brand and part of being part of a brand is helping shape culture, right? Helping be part of culture, but not only in a part of, oh, this has been done before, or like, repeating things that people have done or are saying. And so I think as a marketer and our responsibility is to do unique, innovative, quirky things that can work, that can help shape culture, that can help push forward the conversation in a positive way. And that's why I get a lot of energy when there's a creative idea or a product or whatever it is, and people say, no, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. Like the whole point is, if you get a no, it's a no is not necessarily a blocking the door. It's more of a tell me more about it. I've never heard about this, and that's a really good response to have. And you explaining it, you diving deeper, you pushing it, you pushing the boundaries. That's a good thing, right? To a certain extent, of course. But I think there's a lot of advertising that is kind of very plain and very vanilla. And for the most part, our responsibility is to push the envelope so we can kind of come out of the water and people can see who we are, who the brand is.
Great answers. And on that subject as well, Stefanie, you talked a lot about, you just mentioned bringing people along. And in my LinkedIn stalking, I think one of the things you mentioned about the Let's Go ad is that it's not just about building the ad, it's about the partnerships externally, but then also internally, right? So it takes a village to raise a brand. So like when you all think about your village that you're curating, who are you bringing along and where are you looking for internal champions?
How much time do you have? No, I think we have
11 minutes.
I've prided myself over the years on cultivating really strong relationships internally, right? Like, the nature of our job as brand marketers is to stand things up, and we move so quickly at Hertz. Like, you have to do it in a way that makes people feel like they're a part of the process, but also ensures you're getting the work done in a timely manner. So it's been great to cultivate a network and tap into those people time and time again, because repetition breeds familiarity, especially in this building, right? And I think the more that people understand what you're trying to achieve by bringing them along for the ride, like they're that much more willing to assist in the end outcome. And I think, another thing we do great here at Hertz in the marketing department is, there's no internal versus external. Like our partners are our partners, right? They are just an inherent part of our team, whether they sit in this building or not. And, the relationships we've cultivated with some of our key agency partners, some of our, partners, shout out Adam, I think those are people that we could call in the middle of the night and they would be there, drop of a hat, because, we spend the time to ensure that they're totally understanding of our objectives as an organization, but also that we're bringing them along for that ride.
I would call that building trust 100%. Mm-hmm. Like it is all about, go back to building trust with consumers. You have to build trust with your cross-functional stakeholders, right? So like, I'll use an example. When I was at Burger King, we did this campaign called the Whopper Detour. long story short, we were the last ones to launch an app, the last ones to launch a digital coupon. It was the most boring thing. We're transitioning it from like paper coupons to digital. Wow, that like really innovative, right? And so one of the agencies came to us and said, I have a really cool idea. What if you geolocate all of the McDonald's and have people redeem a coupon for like a really cool offer, but only inside a McDonald's? And we're like, yes, this is brilliant. And so you can imagine when you go to a CEO, legal, CFO, anyone, and saying, I have a really smart idea. Let me tell you, I'm sending everyone to your competition. They're going to say no, right? But because we've built the trust and because we built those really strong relationships, they at least heard me for like 10 minutes before saying no. And then it came back like 99 times. And so I think it's that trust that you build with people and doing you're saying what you're gonna do, is quintessential in the type of work that we do.
Yeah. That's such a forward-thinking idea in terms of not, being afraid of that competition, literally inviting them into your world, right? You were quoted in Ad Age as saying, is you don't skate where the puck is, which is a Gretzky quote, right? You skate where the puck is going. So, like, Stefanie, it's, a similar thought. Like, I've got a 15-year-old son, and the thing that really kills me is when he just stands still and just asks for the ball. It's just like, move without the ball. Let the ball find you. As we think about the future, where is the puck going?
Great question. I think for us, we don't look at our competitors as our competitive set. We look at the broader industry. So for us, it's like, what is Delta doing? What is Marriott doing? Because, I think this has been referenced earlier throughout the day, but like rental car hasn't moved as quickly in the travel space as flights and hotels and airlines, right? So what are Delta and Marriott doing? How can we get there and continue to be a leader in our industry, right? Like, we've been around 106 years. Hertz is synonymous with car rental, as we talked about earlier. So just maintaining that leadership position. And I think, where the puck is going for us is a very digital-first experience. So Dan talked a lot earlier about what we're doing in the loyalty space. I think on the acquisition side, it's about how are we reaching our consumers? What are their media consumption needs and habits, and how are they changing? And how are we making sure to stay ahead of that, right? Not moving with it, but staying ahead of it. So that's acquisition as we move them through the funnel, right? Like a really digital-first experience, a seamless experience, which is what we really pride ourselves on, but with an element of human touch, because when something goes wrong, like we know time and time again, you want to talk to a person, right? You don't want a chat bot. You don't want a random customer service line and God knows where. Like, you want an actual human to solve your problems right there and then. So I think it's finding that balance of digital with a personal touch, bringing them into our loyalty funnel, and really having that strong full funnel experience while, again, maintaining that industry leadership.
In my opinion, what makes a really strong funnel is storytelling, right? Like, I think there's oftentimes, because the only thing that is certain is change, and the only thing that we know is that there's going to be net new platforms, channels, things that we can use. We lose the concept of what are we trying to say to a consumer, right? And so we think we're doing a lot with launching campaigns and launching messaging, but it can get very messy very quickly because there's so many different options out there, right? And the market is so convoluted. And so while you can watch my ad on TikTok, I can watch it on Hulu, you can watch it on linear, you can watch it on out of home, whatever. But we're saying different things, and the message is not there, and so it's not landing in the correct way. And so I think, to answer your question where the puck is going, I think our responsibility is independent of where the puck is going. It's really how do you thread a needle between all the actions that we take as marketers, all the actions that we take as a company, as a brand, as a team, and make sure that whatever that message is really crisp and really clear, independent of the chaos that is out there in this environment.
More great answers. So I know I said that I wasn't going to surprise you both with questions, but we've got about 5.5 minutes, so I've got 2 surprise questions for you. Stefanie, 1, should I ever prepay for full gas?
I think you should join T-Mobile and rent with Dollar, and you don't have to worry about it.
It's like we planned that one. That was good.
Thank you.
And Rogelio, what was your last Instacart order?
No judgment.
I was gonna say like diapers and like, but yeah, diapers and a bottle of wine.
They go hand in hand. Awesome. All right, cool. We've got about 4 minutes left, so I'd love to open it up to the audience for questions.
As you guys start thinking about acquisition and you're focusing on targets like millennials and becoming more relevant and being in those channels, how do you maintain relevancy with older consumers where there probably was a lot of loyalty there? Because it is a brand, and I would think Instacart too is a brand for everybody, right? So you can't talk to everyone the same way. And so how do you balance that so that you don't lose customers while you're gaining new customers and don't have a leaky bucket constantly?
Great question. So my other half, the lead of media, Arthur, he has developed a really strong audience-led plan. So we have 5 distinct audiences that allow us to do just that, right? Talk to the consumer based on the demographics of what we know. So to our existing customers who have been in our loyalty program for 20, 30 years, we're reinforcing the benefits, providing them with new products and offers to keep them in the funnel versus millennials, Gen Z. We're not talking to them about Hertz. It's like, why car rental? They grew up with Uber on their phones. Like, they don't know about our industry. So we're having to start from ground zero of like, why choose car rental over Uber? And then we kind of start to layer in that brand messaging. But great question, yeah. And I think having an audience-led plan really helps mitigate a lot of that murkiness.
I would use your answer from like 10 minutes ago, like having a great insight. I would call it a human tension, right? And a human tension is not necessarily by age group or demographic. It's more like what problem you're trying to solve for consumers. And so if you really have a good tension, everything else can follow, and you'll keep the leaky bucket problem in control.
Mine's more of a personal question. So first off, congrats on Florida's 40 under 40. What is the best career advice each of you have gotten?
I can't necessarily word for word say it, but it's this whole concept of change is your only constant, right? And I think the whatever comes your way, just make sure that you know how to learn, make sure you know how to adapt, and make sure you embrace change versus fighting change, right? So like today we're talking about AI, but you can be talking in the next year, you can be talking about whatever. Uber came in 10 years ago or whatever. Facebook, change is going to happen. And so just embrace it, learn from it, adapt, and kind of submerge yourself in whatever that is and make it work.
I would say mine is you take something away from every job you do, no matter how menial it seems at the time. So, right, you have to start somewhere. So if you're stapling papers, getting coffee, like you are going to take a lesson from that you will carry forth later into life. And you may not see it right in front of you at the time, and you may say, I shouldn't be doing this. Like my skills are better served elsewhere. But I promise you, like long term, everything you do will teach you a lesson and will help you longer term in your career.
So whenever you talked about like throwing a puck and you threw it and it landed in a better area than you thought, have you had that experience like, I'm just going to go for it? And has that happened for you at Hertz where it didn't impact like the company, but it impacted you in your personal life of like, hey, this is a milestone that I hit, that I kind of went for it and it landed beautifully?
I mean, every day. Every day I survive. No, I think the Let's Go campaign is a really good example of that. We started in 2021. It was kind of a quick spur campaign of like, we have to stand something up to announce that we have these EVs, we're going public, and really nurturing that and continuing to take risks. And I'd be lying if I said we asked for full permission for every risk we took, right? Sometimes you make a bet, like Yvonne is a good example, or having Tom jump on the couch and moving out of the lot. Like these were big decisions that we made, and we were kind of hedging a bet. But I think as we watch them pay off, it's really exciting, and it kind of empowers the next set of risks, right? And doing it within reason, but always not being afraid to take a chance or take a risk because it doesn't seem the most appealing at the time, or you don't think it will go over well.
I have a puck here. It's actually fake. But
Throw it.
Is the puck going towards potentially shifting from Let's Go to Let's Ingo or LFG for the next generation?
We've played with LFG. LFG lives in certain places in our world. when we launched in 2021, we had a cut of that. I did make it onto Twitter. I don't know if it still lives there, but we use LFG in select instances to be very motivational. But in terms of like a broader campaign narrative, it probably wouldn't happen.
Acronyms, slang,
Yeah.
for the next generation to engage them, like LFG.
Yeah, no, we fully support LFG. Absolutely.
I used to use LV, but yes. Spanish for vamos.
We've had LFV, LFB, LFG. I think you have some new trivia questions for next time.
There you go.
So awesome. Thank you both. It's been a lot of fun. So many great quotables. Never get high on your own supply. Biggie reference. Why would my mom care? Like, we got it all. Thank you both.